had all these questions. In the middle of that wrestling, I kept coming back to the fact that God doesn't call us to what's comfortable or convenient, but oftentimes He calls us to what's challenging and sometimes costly. If it feels like it's more than we can handle, maybe it's the right thing.
So it was right before our first anniversary that we found out we were expecting, and we were super excited, just really happy about it all. And then at about 12 and a half weeks, I started having some complications. I still remember driving the 50 miles to the hospital as we were losing our baby and having contractions and all of the pain that went with it, and then coming home from the hospital with nobody in our arms. Felt like you had been thrown off the horse, experiencing that miscarriage, because we just both had no thought that that could and would ever happen. It was just over a year after that miscarriage that we found out that we were expecting again. There had been so many people that had kind of come out of the woodwork and encouraged me that a miscarriage can be common. Then at 7 weeks, ended up miscarrying again.
We were thinking about names, and you're beginning to dream and think about what this baby's gonna be, and then there's nothing again.
A few months later, we found out that we were pregnant again for the third time. And this time, something unexpected happened, that we were able to see the heartbeat right at the beginning. And it was just thrilling, because with the other 2 pregnancies, that hadn't happened. We really had been praying and asking God that this would be our miracle. Just past 11 weeks, we went back in for an ultrasound, and there was no longer a heartbeat. We came home, and I was just angry and mad at God. And I remember Sam putting his hand on my stomach, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm praying that God will do a miracle." And I pushed his hand away from my stomach, and I said, if God wanted to do a miracle, this baby would have a heartbeat. And as I went to bed that night, he stayed up praying for that baby with his hand on my stomach. But the next morning, I began the process of miscarrying.
About 7 months after that last miscarriage, I was at a conference. I was crying and praying and going, God, why? Why can't we get pregnant? Why can't we have kids? Just saying, God, I want to be a dad. And I remember looking up just in time to see whatever the announcement was on the video that they were showing. A black screen with the words, "These are your children." And then it went on to show kids from around the world who didn't have families, and that there were 142 million orphans in the world. And I had never really thought about that, realizing that there's kids who have experienced way more pain and loss than us. They're longing for a family. And here we were longing for a family too. I walked away from that experience going, we're going to adopt someday. I think we're supposed to do this.
At that point, we were just asking the question, what do we do next? So we had gone out to visit my family. Another friend was staying at the house. He came in my dad's office, and as we were in that office, he began to pray. He said the specific words, God, we pray that Sarah will have a baby in 9 months.
Half of me was thinking, why would you pray something like that? And the other half of me was praying, I believe, God help my unbelief.
That prayer was prayed on May 2nd, 2008, and a month later we found out that we were pregnant. Still walking out every day wondering if this is going to be different than before. And then 9 months and 1 day from when that prayer was prayed, we welcomed Abigail Hope into the world.
And I just remember holding her and thinking, I'm never going to let you go. So we thought, all right, We had this miracle baby. Now we're going to adopt. And we're just gonna wait for this little girl to grow up some more. But our plans turned out not to be the way it happened.
We found out that I was pregnant again about a year and a half after. 9 months later, we welcomed our son, our youngest. It was right around the time we found out I was pregnant. This family that we were friends with had 3 kids in foster care that were able to come into their home. And so we just wanted to come alongside them and just help in any way that we could. And that's when we first met 3 of the cutest kids ever. We just were asking the questions, how can we help more? What can we do? We're available. And so we ended up going to an informational class on foster care. I remember being pregnant with our son thinking, this has got to be the craziest thing that we've ever done. But at that point, we were just helping. We were just available to help for a week to watch the kids or help a few days a week. Then as time went on and our hearts were just pulled so strongly for these kids, when the time came that they needed a home to be in forever, it's almost hard to describe how, if I had never known anything more clearly in all of my life, it was in this moment that we were supposed to open up our home and our lives to these 3 kids.
At that point, we had an almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So we're going, hey, we've never parented kids this age, and we have no idea how to do this. The first 3 months, we were scared to leave the house. We were scared to go outside. I don't know how to handle this many people in public. It was just that decision to, we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna take the plunge.
One of my favorite quotes, you can do no great things, only small things with great love. Stepping back, it was this surreal moment. People would see our 2 biological kids and talk about our family of 4. Every time that would happen, all I could think of were the miscarriages. That here, there were 3 kids that were now our kids that were right around the same ages of the children that we lost. I think reflecting on all the pain that we had experienced in those years and asking all the questions of God, where are you? And yet finding out that when we can put our heart's desires into God's hand, being able to see that unfold into a family that we never could have imagined. Just being able to say, God, you're so good.
He's bringing hope to the hopeless and giving his heart to the broken and sharing his home with the orphan. He is the joy, he is my joy, he is the hope of the nations. The Father's heart we're embracing, and he is the song we're declaring. And he is the joy, he is my joy. He's bringing hope to the hopeless and giving his heart to the broken and sharing his home with the orphan. He is the joy, he is my joy.